All right, y'all. This wraps up my mock draft. Just to touch on a few things now that my mock draft is now complete. Um, in my mock draft, I have 16 guys on defense being drafted and 16 guys on offense. Um, I got three quarterbacks going in my mock draft. Uh, I think that this draft is very heavily favored at edge rushers. You have some guys that put up great numbers in terms of, what edge rushers, what teams are looking for an edge rusher. Running 4.5, 4.6 at the combine. Personally, me, I've learned over the years to not necessarily get too heavily caught up in the 40 time because you have some guys that don't perform well or do well in terms of their 40, and then they go to the NFL and they light it up. Terrell Suggs is an example of that. Joe Hayden, he didn't run a good 40 time, and look at him. Darrelle Revis, he didn't really run a particularly super fast 40 time. Antonio Brown, we could sit here and think of many guys and call off their names. However, at this particular point, though, I believe that this draft is very heavily on the edge rusher, outside linebacker slash defensive end kind of guys. That's for 3-4 teams mainly, and some and 4-3 as well. I also believe that the defense is the better positions in this draft. Wide receiver is next after the edge rusher, in my opinion. Um, I do believe that there are going to be some trades. Obviously, there are trades in just about every single draft. However, with that being said, it's kind of hard to predict that who's going to trade with who or and all that other stuff. But I believe for the most part, though, this is going to be a very key draft. I believe that we're going to have some teams, because it happens every year. We're going to have some teams, they're going to reach for a particular player that they want. And you don't get nowhere when you reach. What you do instead when you reach is that you set your franchise back. I don't want to call out any team in particular because I don't want to come across as though I'm bashing anyone's particular team. But I do believe that when you reach for a particular player, you set your franchise back. Um, as I stated before, sometimes some guys project well in certain schemes. Like I said, if you're a Tampa 2 type of team, like Tampa Bay with Lovie Smith, those kinds of teams, they're they're not necessarily looking for corners that's 6'2", 6'3", that runs 4'3", 4'2", could jump out the gym. You know what I mean? They don't necessarily look for those kind of guys. They look for guys that can redirect, that has good ball skills, that can catch, and that are disciplined. Because ultimately, to sustain and have a long career in the NFL, you need discipline and you need intelligence as well, so that you could pick up on the game, the playbook, and things like that. And a Tampa 2 scheme, look at a guy like Rondé Barber. Rondé Barber wasn't no 4'3" guy. I would imagine he probably was a 4'5", 4'6" guy. And look at how long he played. Look at how his career went. No, he's not a Hall of Famer, but he had a good career. He won a Super Bowl. So don't get caught up. I've learned myself over the years, don't get caught up in, whether the guy runs 4'3" or what his times are. Some even will say, because a guy can jump out the gym, or because a guy bench press, 225, 40 times or 30 times, he should be a beast in terms of moving people. That's not always true. I'm sure J.J. Watt go up against guys that's stronger than him on a week-to-week basis, but he still gets the job done. So what I tend to look for is whenever the Steelers draft a guy, I try to look at and see how does he fit into what we do and how we're going to use him. Because if you could use the guy to maximize his talent, then and only then will you see the best of him. There have been plenty of guys that the Steelers have drafted, and they flourish with us. And then when it's time for them to leave, they leave and go elsewhere, and they don't do as good for whatever the reason is. I can't think of an outside linebacker, inside linebacker that the Steelers had that left Pittsburgh and went somewhere and blew it up. Joey Porter had maybe 1 or 2 good years with the Dolphins, and after that, Father Time catches us all. Father Time is undefeated. He was, old at that particular point. I still like Porter though, but I couldn't tell you too many other guys that left our team and went somewhere else and lit it up. I say that to say a guy may project well in your team scheme, and he might not project well in another team scheme. Some teams may use him differently, and sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. So again, this wraps up my mock draft. This is a conclusion to my mock draft. You guys feel free to write your comments, questions, and we can have fun with this. And hopefully this turns out to be something well, and continue to do it. But please believe that I'll be in tune and find some sort of way to get a hold and stay up to date with this with the draft when it does come on. Until then, God bless you all. Peace.